I want to thank you once again so much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Lynn Holcomb. I'm a Senior Associate Dean of Admissions on the Colgate Admissions team, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. For anyone logging in today from New York City, that is my primary recruiting region. I do recruit in all 5 boroughs, and we're excited to have all of our participants, regardless of where they're coming in today, joining us. I'm excited to be joined by one of my colleagues, and I'll allow Kata to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name's Kata Elise Rivas Santiago. I go by Kata. I'm an assistant dean of admission here at Colgate University, and I'm really excited to be here. I recruit for the Southwest mainly. So I do Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arizona, but I also do Pennsylvania. So kind of all over the map. And if you are from those regions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to place our contact information in the chat. If you're not from those regions, still feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to chat with students.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Quickly, I wanted to say that I will be monitoring the chat during this webinar. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A section, and I will be answering them throughout the whole time. I'm going to black out my screen. I'm going to let Lynn take over, but I'll still be here if we need anything from my end. Really excited to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kata. I love our team approach here today because we know whenever we start to talk about applications, there's going to be a lot of questions. What I want to do is first outline for you what we intend the next bit of our webinar to the next steps. We are expecting this to wrap up by 4:30. We're going to try to be efficient and excited about our upcoming application cycle and process. What I'm going to do for the next 10 to 15 minutes or so is I'm going to give you a brief overview of Colgate's admissions and financial aid policies, basically give you a little bit of an inside look in how we review applications, what's important for you. When we travel and when we're on the road, or whether we're in our lobby talking with students who are pursuing Colgate as an option, they always want to know how they can stand out in their application. And we're going to tell you a little bit of some of the things that we look at today. Throughout the conversation today, I'm going to encourage you to please leave your questions in the Q&A for Kata to be monitoring and answering. At the end of the webinar, Kata is going to join us back live, and we're going to go over some of the themes of questions that she did receive during the time of the presentation. We're going to, like I said, leave about 10 minutes for questions and answers at the end, and you'll have plenty of chances to make sure you leave here with your questions answered. I love that we started this with Kata sharing our contact information. We're here for you. If you have any questions after this event or throughout your recruiting process, please feel free to keep in touch. We are just about a month out from applications for the Colgate class of 2030. Those of you graduating from high school in 2026. Colgate has a number of different application vendors that we work with. The first that will launch will be the Common Application on August 1st, followed shortly by the Coalition Application by Score, and Colgate is also a QuestBridge partner. So when you're thinking about the actual application, the vehicle by which you will apply to Colgate, we have 3 different options for you to choose from. We also have a number of different timelines by which you can apply. So at Colgate, we are going to be, we'd like to refer to ourselves as an early decision school. There are a number of different ways by which to apply to college. Colgate has 2 rounds of early decision, and then we have a regular decision round. But to help those of you, if you're not really familiar with some of the terminology, early decision is a binding admissions process. It means you're raising your hand saying Colgate is a first choice, and you can apply to one school under an early decision process. Early decision option 1 has a deadline of November 1st and notification by mid-December. Early decision option 2, alongside our regular decision application process, has a deadline of January 15th. The notification dates are different though. Early decision option 2, our students are notified in the middle of February, whether or not they have been admitted or not to the process. And in regular decision, we tend to release those decisions by the end of March. And we do use for regular decision, a universal deposit deadline. Most of our students will need to make a decision about their choice by May 1. When we receive all those information in that timeline, there are other webinars on financial aid, but it's also very important to know at Colgate that if you're applying for financial aid, the application deadlines for financial aid are the same as the application deadline. So for early decision, you're going to need application, your financial forms, which are going to be the CSS profile and the FAFSA for early decision students. And then for early decision 2 and regular decision, that deadline is January 15th. As I mentioned, lots of other webinars on financial aid, but knowing those deadlines are important. When we review your applications, we are going to look at all of the information that is required along with an application. And Colgate's going to be a little bit typical in the fact that we are going to require that application, which comes with it a personal statement that's going to be a vehicle for you to share with us a little bit about yourself. We also are going to expect and require you to submit a high school transcript. We also are going to be looking for that high school profile that is sent by your high school counseling, their high school or your high school counseling team. We do require a guidance counselor or a college counselor recommendation, along with 2 teacher recommendations from teachers who have taught you in core academic classes in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. In addition to that, within the application, we are going to have opportunities for you to share with us your extracurricular activities, so we can get a full picture of who you are. Colgate uses what's called a holistic review process, meaning that we look at all aspects of your application, academic, non-academic, personal, to help us see how you're going to, the story you're going to tell and how that might align with the qualities of a Colgate education. What I want to spend quite a bit of time today talking about are some of the additional or optional aspects of a Colgate education, or additional ways in which you can bring information into a Colgate application that we will use in your holistic process. And I'm going to start with 2 of our 2 application options for you. And I'm going to be very clear. Optional means optional. If they were required, we would say you need to submit these. But Colgate does have 2 options that some students might find as a nice thing for them to add into their application. Other students might not. One, Colgate actually has what are called supplemental prompts. They're not long essays. They're short supplemental prompts that they can submit to Colgate as an addition to their application once and only once they've submitted their application. We don't hide those prompts from our students, though. They are actually on our website and available for students right now. I might give Kata a job to say, hey, click that, check on that apply page, or put that in the chat so students can see that we have 3 supplemental prompts. You can submit none. You can submit 1, 2, 3, whatever is important to you. But the prompts allow for students to express a wide range of ideas across different writing platforms. We have some short answer responses. We have some fill in the blanks. It's going to allow for a little bit of flexibility. And again, they're optional, but it can be a space for you to share additional information about yourself. I know oftentimes if I'm talking to students, they might be a little concerned about quality of teacher recommendations, if there's been turnover, or maybe their favorite teacher left and yet they want to share about this cool thing that they did with a teacher. They can also self-express that through the supplemental prompts as well. Colgate also we are test optional. So we have made a decision as an institution, we are going to remain test optional for our students. And so anyone logging in today, whether you're heading into your sophomore, junior, senior year of high school in the fall, we are going to be test optional for the years ahead. Applicants need to indicate on their application whether or not they want their scores considered. You can update your optional status only until the application deadline. So say you apply in October and you're like, hey, I want to be test optional in the process, but then you take the SAT just for fun and you're like, whoa, I want to submit that. You can do that until the application deadline by which you applied. Again, that would be either November 1st or January 15th, depending on your timeline. Colgate will accept self-reported ACT. If you want to use your testing, Colgate will accept self-reported ACT and SAT scores. Applicants can list them right on the Common application, the Coalition, or the QuestBridge application, or you can send a copy of your score reports to admission@colgate.edu. All this information is also right on our website. You're going to be able to access that freely. And we do accept results from both paper and digital forms of the SAT, and we super score across all formats. We've gotten a lot of questions lately about changes in the ACT exam that are coming up. And in alignment with Colgate's test optional policy, the ACT, including the writing and science sections, is again optional. Should a student choose to submit ACT scores, the science and writing scores, if taken, will be reported separately from their composite scores. We're ready for that. We've made the changes in our database and our systems, and we're ready to see what students are going to submit. We will super score both the ACT and the SAT so individuals can really make that choice of which they want to submit. And only after will we require official testing if we admit a student and they choose to enroll. With all of that, I really do want to emphasize that the testing choice is truly yours. If it's in an application, we use it. And if it's not, we're going to look to the other parts of your application to get a great quality and understanding of your academic profile. For anyone, if you're a non-native English speaker, official TOEFL, IELTS, and DET scores are required for non-native English speakers who do not study at a secondary school where English is the primary language of instruction. Again, all this information is really clearly laid out. We have a webpage for international applicants, and that's going to outline all of the information. The testing requires, I think, for many students, it raises a lot of questions about should I submit, should I not submit? And I guess my message to you is don't overthink it. If it's something you are proud of and you want to share with us, please do. Chances are, if you're excited about it, we're going to be excited about it too. But there is no disadvantage to applying to Colgate without supplements and or without testing. But as you can see, they allow individuals to add another dimension to their application if they feel that that will make them a stronger in their overall holistic review. That's not a decision we can make for you, though. We're just getting to know you in the application. You have to make that decision knowing yourself and the qualities that you're going to be presenting in your application. I do like to mention that Colgate does not track demonstrated interest, and I want to just define what that term is. So demonstrated interest is a way in which colleges sort of track how often you engage with them. We absolutely love that you're on this webinar today, but we're not going to use this to influence your admissions decision. But hopefully what it will do is you engage with Colgate is you're going to learn a lot about us and make a really good decision about applying and where Colgate may fit or where it may sit in your list of college choices. But we don't look at demonstrated interest. The one way that a student can stand out through your application and let us know that you are really, really interested in Colgate, we look to early decision for that. If a student knows Colgate is a top choice for them, a good way for you to tell us what your level of interest in is by choosing an early decision status, either early decision round 1 with a November 1st deadline or early decision option 2, January 15th. But many of our students, the majority of our applicants will come in through regular decision, but as it relates to how do I tell Colgate they're my top choice, early decision is how we do look at that. I want to talk about just a couple other avenues by which students can submit some additional information to their application that can help us get perspective on who they are as an individual. Again, all optional, but all ways in which students can maybe add any additional information that doesn't easily fit into the standard features of Common App, Coalition, or QuestBridge. It's great that it's a streamlined process and allows you to apply one application to many colleges, but the downside is that it's common. And if you want to personalize it in any way, some of these supplemental material options are helpful. One that we really like to share with our students is our slide room profile. Most colleges do partner with Slide Room, and this is a way for students to submit music, art, theater, any additional artistic talent. At Colgate specifically, this is the one area in which we work with our Colgate faculty for them to review the quality of the submissions. And so it can absolutely play an important role in your application. If you are an outstanding musician, I'm going to be impressed because I'm not incredibly artsy, but if our faculty are really impressed, that can definitely be something. Again, holistic is looking at all qualities of the application. So having a Slide Room assessment well received by a faculty member can aid in the holistic review of an applicant. Again, all of that is going to be presented to you in whatever application vendor you use. How to submit that and additional information is available on our website as well. Colgate also offers students an opportunity through our member form with, again, Coalition, QuestBridge, and Common Application for students to share any type of digital presence. And that can be your own website where you highlight your photography. It maybe is an Etsy store where you're selling some of your cool pieces. Maybe you're an entrepreneur and you've started your own business. That's going to be very easy for you to simply click that link, add that link right into your member form, and that's going to come into our review process. We have that easily accessible. So as we're reading an application and we're learning about you, if you have a visual presence that you want us to see, that's going to be a really easy and quick way for you to send that along. And then for some students, there just might be additional material that doesn't fit into any of these set little boxes. If you have something, maybe you've done some research as a high school student, or maybe you're really proud of a short story that allowed you to be recognized for your writing talent. That is something that you can submit to us. Couple different ways to do that. Once you're an applicant, you will have access to an applicant portal at Colgate, and you can upload that information right into your application. Super easy for you to just take a quick moment and do that. If for any reason, because of the size of the file or the format, that isn't easy for you to do, you can always just email it to our admissions email account, admission@colgate.edu, and we'll go through those steps for you. The goal of us providing this wide range of options for students to complete what they feel is going to be a thorough assessment and sort of visual and personal representation of who they are is we want to make sure that we have all the information that we need about you. The academics are definitely going to be a very important part of the process, but your high school is going to send us those pieces, and we're going to use that. But in a holistic review process, it is important for us to see all dimensions of you as a student. So for us to provide these additional ways through some supplemental options for some people, through ways to submit supplemental material, to different timelines by which you can bind, some binding, some regular decision, we're trying to provide a range of choices for students, not to make it stressful for you, but to make sure that we're providing the flexibility that the very wide range of our applicant pool will need. Those are some really important highlights. I'm going to ask Kata to share with me what she's hearing on her side from the Q&A and what types of questions are coming in on your side.
I love it. Awesome. Lots of good questions. That was awesome, Lynn. I think a lot of them were really great clarifications on some of the stuff that we talked about. Would you mind talking a bit more on like self-reported scores versus official test scores and what the difference looks like there?
Yeah, that's really great. And I did going through try to define there's a lot of terms in higher education. So thank you so much for raising that question. Self-reported scores simply mean that you as an applicant can tell us what they are. You can fill them in on the common application or an application source. And they do not need to be official from a testing organization. There is going to be a fee to release your official scores from a testing organization, and we don't want you to do that until the end of our process. If you have to do that at the application process, that can add up pretty quickly. So this is really about making sure that there are no financial limitations. If a student does want to share test scores in their process, we're going to work very much on the honor system. And I can tell you, we validate that data when the official scores come in. And it's important. Like, we're going to find out if they're not true, but that never happens. That really is not something that is a concern for us. There's a high level of integrity and ethics in the college admissions process. So we trust you. Share self-report means you tell us what you got on what date and what test, and we're going to use that and only require it to be validated by testing organizations once you enroll as a student. Do you think that covers it, Kata?
Think that covered it really, really well. Thank you, Lynn.
Great.
A lot of questions about that. We also had a lot of questions about kind of early decision 1 and early decision 2. Are they different? What's the difference in terms of how applicants look versus regular decision?
Yeah, that is a great question. I would, if it's a little bit different each year, but I'm going to answer very candidly first. The difference is really just the timeline. November 1st, pretty darn early in your senior year. And so for students who at this point, if you're on a summer webinar and you have a list of colleges, you might be in a position to know exactly what is a first choice college for you. For many high school students across the country, just either they haven't had that exposure to enough colleges yet, or they haven't really identified that one school that feels different or impressive enough to be that number one choice above all others. And so early decision 1 and early decision 2 is absolutely about the timing. To apply November 1st, you really need to be working with your high school counselors by October 1st. And that seems like it's a long way away, but it's not. It's going to come really quickly. So giving students those options, we view it absolutely the same in our process. And the reality is we look for the same quality student in early decision as we do in early decision 2, as we do in regular decision. The only thing that is a variable is how many applicants we're reviewing at that time. We do tend to have more applicants, as I'm sure you would expect, in regular decision, but we're not looking for different qualities or different academic preparation for an early decision versus a regular decision student. It really is about just timelines of different rounds and our applicant pools being variable, and they do vary from year to year. I cannot sit and tell you here what the applicant pool will be for early decision 1 this year or early decision 2 or regular decision. We have a flexible process that works with the application volume as it comes in, and we do receive over the last few years, it's been anywhere from 17,000 to 21,000 applications. So we're busy and there's a lot to do there. But we will read your application when the timeline is right for you to submit it, but by the deadline, and we'll review it within the context of that round.
That's awesome. We're also getting some questions about kind of intended majors and minors, which I know you discussed, but would you mind repeating how kind of students come in?
That's actually a really great question, because I only touched on that a little bit based on sort of the other interests. One of the great aspects, and these are other webinars that we have as well that can go into some great detail, but one of the wonderful aspects of Colgate being a liberal arts college is that when you enroll at Colgate, you are admitted to Colgate University and you have full access to all 56 of our different majors. So we don't admit by intended major. It is incredible if you want to come in and be an econ major, or maybe a women's studies major, like whatever you want to do is going to be incredible. But we do not have any particular limits of the number of students we will admit by high school, by state, by intended major, by any of those pieces. We are reading for the best quality student for a liberal arts education at a residential college in a small rural college town. And that's absolutely going to be the driving mission and the mission alignment behind our holistic review process.
Awesome. And I know you mentioned a little bit about financial aid, but I'm getting a lot of questions about what demonstrated need means.
Sure.
If there's any loans in the packages.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really hard to separate conversations about admissions with financial aid because they go hand in hand. Getting an offer of admission without the right financial aid isn't really an offer, right? You need to make sure it works for you on all aspects. Colgate, it is really important, and this is such a wonderful question. It is as important to understand financial aid policies as it is admissions policies. Financial aid at Colgate, we are a school that meets 100% of demonstrated need. And that term, demonstrated need, means that our financial aid is going to be allocated based on the financial resources of your family unit. And I say that very broadly because families are defined in a variety of different ways who makes up your family, but it is going to be looking at the income from the individuals who are supporting you, whether that be parents or legal guardians or family. And it's going to look at income, and it's going to look at the standard assets that your family might have. That might look at, do you own a home? Do you rent? Other assets, et cetera. But it is going to be based on your family's need. What it does mean also is that Colgate does not offer academic merit aid. Some schools offer academic merit aid where you get additional financial resources for being a top student. The reality is the majority of students coming into Colgate are going to be top students from their high school. And so, like many highly selective institutions, we do not offer academic merit aid. What it does mean is that in a policy, an admissions policy, financial aid policy like Colgate, where we meet demonstrated need, it means that your need will be met pretty fully, nearly, with Colgate Grant. We also have the Colgate Commitment, which is no loan for families whose income with standard assets is $175,000 a year or less. And there may be a small work study package, meaning a job on campus as part of your financial aid. But some of our students may have a very small loan if they don't qualify for the Colgate Commitment. And our students are graduating of those that do have loans, typically with less than $15,000 in student loan debt after 4 years. But for the majority of our students, if their family income is $175,000 a year or less, and I do say for domestic students, because for international students, they don't qualify for qualify for federal loans, and so they already don't have loans in their package. But again, we meet 100% of demonstrated need for domestic as well as international students in our process. We probably
Awesome.
have time
Yeah.
for one or two more questions.
Let's see. Double checking everything. And then, there's a lot of questions coming in now. Oh my gosh. Okay. Maybe we'll do kind of a more Colgate-based question. People were talking a bit about kind of the classes and what liberal arts means in that core curriculum. And you mentioned how you get like the chance to do a bunch of different classes. Do you mind talking a bit more about that? That seems to be a really hot topic.
Absolutely. And again, not to push a lot onto other webinars, but we have some great webinars that also talk about the liberal arts and the curricular options at Colgate. Being a liberal arts institution is sort of an educational philosophy and approach that means in a liberal arts education, students are going to come in and get a broad-based exposure to a variety of academic disciplines and areas of study before they make their decision about what they want to major in. So at Colgate, we do have a core curriculum that has a number of learning principles that we want you to explore in your first year and sophomore year of college. And that's to help you explore the range of academic areas of study. As a high school student, you haven't explored it all yet. And so in college, setting the base in a liberal arts environment, we sort of force you to make some choices and find some study some different areas as you create the foundation to your education. At Colgate, you typically will declare your major by the spring of your sophomore year. And that is very, very different than looking at a larger university where you might apply directly into a school of engineering or a school of business and really start that academic track at your first year. You can be as specific as you want in a Colgate education, but the philosophy of liberal arts is to come in, transition well into very small classes, get the skill set you need: reading, writing, critical thinking, problem solving, public presentation, learn all of those core academic skills, and then become a specialist in your area of major, major, double minor, whatever you choose to major in. Kata, this has been great. We've covered a little bit of application, a lot about details and policies, and even given a nice little flavor, which is always nice, about the value of a liberal arts education.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you, Laura.
Wonderful. And I think I want to circle back to where we started. Kata did share our contact information in the chat. I know in 30 minutes, it's hard for us to answer all of your questions that you might have, but we're going to, I would encourage you, check out the chat right now before we close out the webinar for this evening. Take down our information, or even better yet, very easy to find us on the website as well, with contact our staff members, and make sure that you keep in touch. We want to partner with you as you go throughout your college search. We're excited that Colgate is in that conversation at this point, and we look forward to working with you throughout your college process. On behalf of Colgate, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight, and have a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye.